Today it's time for the grand finals of the Big Gabe Cup. A $5,000 tournament, a one-day event. All of the games of this particular tournament got played in just one afternoon and evening. And it all comes down to just these two legends. Now, you love to see it because this is a rivalry as old as they are. Spawning right here in the top left of game number one, playing in red with the Zerg, we have none other than Rainar. And down all the way in the opposite corner, joined of course by the polar bear, we're looking inside of the main base of Clem. Okay, now this particular series, it's a best of 5, but the tournament used a double elimination format. Now in the upper bracket finals, Clem, and I haven't seen those games, but Clem knocked down Reynor to the lower bracket. Meaning that if Clem wins this best of 5, he wins the tournament. If Rainar, however, wins the best of 5, we get one additional reset best of 3 for all the marbles. Either way, it is going to be a spicy game, I'm sure. There's a lot of history between these two. Not, of course, just on the day that this particular match was played, with Clem knocking Rainar down to the lower bracket, but just historically, they have been playing against each other so many times. And while they maybe don't meet as much anymore in 2026 as they did in, say, like 2019 or so, they really did grow up together in a way. Even though they, well, live in different places and they certainly have come from different angles, but it's nice to see that they have both managed to climb to the very top. We've had this several times actually in the past where there are like a handful of players that all got good right around the same time, and they're all right around the same age. Usually, though, there's one of them that pops ahead of the others. And then, well, you don't quite forget about the rest, but it's the one player that, that sticks out and that usually starts winning championships. Now, I think a lot of people were assuming that something similar was going to happen as well with Reynor, or, for example, with Clem, but not the case. Both of these guys, of course, ridiculously good. Both of them winning their respective World Cups as well. It is nice to see that they are still here. And they're still competing at the absolute highest level. Now, I'm not entirely sure as far as like a head-to-head score goes currently, but if I were to make a guess, I think it's probably about 50-50, maybe a slight advantage for Clem. Clem really has been extremely consistent, and that is something you can maybe argue sometimes for Rainar. Rainar does go through phases, I think, where he doesn't play the game as much. And then obviously sometimes you're still playing in tournaments, maybe you signed up for something or you're qualified and you decide to participate despite the fact that you haven't been playing as much. I feel like that's less of an issue for Clem because Clem is always playing. But there's no denying that right now, Reynor is on absolute fire. He's been playing some fantastic StarCraft again over like the last year. I mean, early 2025 he had a little bit of a dip. Believe it or not, he was playing a lot of League. So maybe I'm just saying. Maybe playing a lot of League actively makes you worse at StarCraft. Or maybe not playing StarCraft makes you worse at StarCraft. Either way, the jury's not yet out on that one. But it's going to be a triple command center opener right here for Clem. Hellions into probably Banshees. This is the most normal way to begin. And the strategy that Clem really has popularized over the years. Right here for Reynor, we've got ourselves a very fast third hatchery. He did pull one drone out of gas. Looks like we've actually may have mixed and matched the work account in that extractor for a little bit because this is a bit of a mess, but across the board, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. What I'm really curious to see here is whether or not Reynor is again going to be skipping Banelings. He's been doing that quite a lot lately, where he doesn't get Banelings until it's the late game. And by the way, look at this. It's a Raven rather than a Banshee here for Clem. That's a little bit odd as well. Reynor has been experimenting, though, with prioritizing infestors over Banelings. And I think it's kind of garbage, but a lot of Zerg players seem to be disagreeing with me. I do like the idea of the infestor, it's a powerful unit, but skipping Banelings in favor of the infestor does seem a little crazy. Either way, only time will tell for now. It's going to be Hellions that are dancing back and forth. They're trying to see if they can snipe some of those creep tumors, but Rainar is very well known for his excellent queen control. Rainar actually the one that popularized using 3 control groups for queens. So back in the day, everybody, I still do this. Maybe it's because I'm old, I don't know. Everybody just had one control group for their queens. Then Zerg players at the highest levels started shifting away from that, and they had like one control group for queens that are injecting, and then one for the ones that are laying down tumors. Rainar, however, uses 3 control groups for the queens. One for the injects, and then one for the group that's defending the left, Like these ones right over here. And then, of course, that secondary or the third control group over here for the queens that are controlling the right. And in theory, it's best. The execution, however, is very tricky. So far, though, it's going really well here for Reynor. We've got the +1 armor here coming up again. No Baneling Nest, no Infestation Pit yet either. Yeah, I think we're once more going Infestors pretty early on. It is curious. The Raven and the, well, Hellions here are trying their best to get literally anything done, but thus far, not really that much has died. Hatchery in the far bottom left coming up already, and there's really nothing that Clem has been able to do about it. Obviously, the Raven, is a detector, and really not that many tumors ended up going down. This is pretty much the perfect early game right here for Reynor. It is on the edge of being too greedy. Brenda does end up burning to a crisp. It's on the edge of being too much, but I think it's working out really well for him. Zergling runby going in. Oy. This is a disaster right now for Clem. There are a bunch of Widow Mines here, but I mean, they can be microed against, and it's going to force the SCVs to run away. So many workers fall, and even without these units dying, I would call this a major advantage here for the Zerg. But these 17 or so workers that are dying in total are just like the cherry on top of the cake. Infestation Pit, there it is. Second Evo Chamber is now done. We do, of course, have mules, so mules will be nice to recuperate some of the losses with, but this is a lot. Honestly, more than Terran can really come back from. I mean, not only obviously are you then forced to lose those workers and pull all your units back, as soon as you appear again on the other side of the map, the creep has moved forward, the hatchery in the far bottom left is up entirely uncontested and even unscouted. Clem is going to get there right about right now, and he's going to see, wait a second, there's a fully running base already. Yeah, absolute disaster right here for the Frenchman. Clem is a very momentum-heavy player, right? He loves playing StarCraft 2 and getting the snowball rolling, but this is the opposite of a snowball. This is going uphill. Both ways. Somehow, some way. Well, he's going to try and see if he can catch up. So, the first step right here, when it comes to catching up, is getting that second factory going inside of the main base. I'm assuming he will attempt to get a fourth command center built as well at some point, but it all feels kind of messy. Rainar, though, is just double expanding here, and he is going into the hive, and he is just getting infestors. So, skipping out on banelings seems silly to me. Cheeky little Widow Mine drop. I mean, it's very desperate. Rainar, APM-wise, the fastest player on the planet. Not really going to struggle that much with it. Although he does lose a lot of links here to the Marine Meat Grinder. Ha! Clemdo is so far behind now that he decides to mix it up altogether. We're going into Blue Flame Hellions now. I thought we were going to try and get Drilling Claws going, but I guess there's... Since there's no Banelings in this game, right? Clem has decided, yo, if that's the case, I will just try to go for one attack for all the marbles and really hope that there are still no Banelings available at that point in time. Well, the reason that Rainar is skipping it is because he's trying to get into these Ultras really fast. This is by no means the fastest possible Ultralisks. But at the very least, if Ultras do hit the battlefield, it's gonna be good. But I mean, there is an attack here that's got real potential, right? I mean, we've got Blue Flame Hellbats in about a half-minute time. We're gonna have double upgraded Marines in maybe a minute or so from now. If there is no proper splash damage for Zerg, I am not convinced that Fungal Growth is going to cut it. Clem's macro is still superb, by the way. You can see that reflected here at the bottom of the screen. Despite all of those losses, he is still in a really healthy state. Still, he's playing against 85 drones, and now Ultralisks are coming. That's why the supply was a little bit lower. Blue Flame may very well be scouted here in a bit. Infestors trying to keep this army at bay. Oy. Clem may be doing Clem things. But it's partially due to the fact, though, that we do not have Banelings. Nice little bit of chain fungling to try and get the job done. Was it worth it? Was it worth skipping Banelings? I don't get it. But we've been seeing this so much lately. This game was absolutely perfect for Rainar for like the first 7 minutes. I think it's still going to result in a Zerg victory just because the advantage was so big. But man, is Clem making it difficult right here for Rainar. The main problem I have right here with the Terran, right, is that... I thought for a second that was a third factory. Not quite, no. Just double factory for now, but he is not on 4 command centers. Okay, he starts one up right now, but this is like minutes later than it normally is supposed to be. Likewise, we also do not have an 8 Rex here yet, so there's still a lot of building that Clem needs to do, meaning that he's going to slow the game down a bunch, and, well, the only thing that's really missing here for Rainar, at least in the late game, is a switch on over towards some solid upgrades then. This Blue Flame shenanigans over here, though, the Ultras have a difficult time getting in there. Look at this. The Ultras are too fat. They don't fit. Turns out if you drop a bunch of Hellbats behind the mineral line, Ultras are not able to hit them. Now, I wonder if this is just some sort of gigantic mind game from Reynor. I think, honestly, if he would have made Banelings at the normal time, the Ultras maybe would be slightly delayed. But this was like an 8-minute Ultra Cavern, which is pretty fast, but by no means crazy. Now we go into the Baneling nest. Rainer's only on 67 drones. Is this just a big throw to start things off? Clem is actually leading the supply count. We do have the additional Rexes now nearly done. +3/+3 has started researching inside of the engineering base. We're gonna have the additional Hellbats still added in, and I love the Hellbats as a core part of the army. If there's no Banelings out, you may as well keep making them. I really like this here for Clem. I mean, even though this may still result in a loss, mentally this is going to hurt the Zerg massively. This game was supposed to be over already, and instead we are in this spot where Terran, well, may very well be slightly ahead. It's hard to say. I'm still a little afraid, though, for when, like, the first big engagement hits. We don't have ghosts. The Terran economy is not that big, but it's growing. Liberator count is also here, though, so I guess Corruptors will be added into the mix just for that. We are up to 22 Hellbats, by the way. 22 Hellbats with 7 that have already died this game. When's the last time you've seen 30 Blue Flame Hellbats, give or take? I think that's how we're going to be playing this match here moving forward. Kind of would like to see some more. At least make it 30 so I can put some clickbait in the title of this video. No. No, sorry. Dude, there's so many Blue Flame Hellbats. Actually scary, though. But, Banelings are here. And I think that means that the reign of the Hellbat is over. Then again, though, Hellbats are 100 minerals each. Banelings are 25 gas and then 50 minerals each. So even though, right, technically maybe the Banelings are gonna counter the Hellbats, it is not so clear-cut. It's not necessarily a bad idea. Zergling run by yet again, and these have been hurting Clem a lot. Clem doing a great job, though, zoning with those Liberators, forcing the Zerg to not engage. Part of the Terran army returned back home. Drones have been transferred towards the bottom left. Rainer's looking for a fight. Is he gonna get it? Is he gonna get it? Do we have a fungal growth? With the Liberators not sieged up, and the Ultras now chasing all of this down, and now the Fungals do join in. We have a large chunk of the Terran army, though, down south over here. Those were the ones that were chasing the Ling run by. Dude, Clem may actually just be an absolute gamer. Is he a gamer? It seems to me that he might just be. How in the world is he in this? It's honestly quite ridiculous. Like, if this was a ladder game, right, I don't think he would have tapped out yet, but he would have been really close to just leaving after the early game. I can't really emphasize enough how bad it is to have an early game where not only do you get absolutely nothing done with your Hellions, with your Raven, you lose the Raven for free, and then you lose, I believe, 17 SCVs to a Ling run by. Like, that is probably worst case scenario for Terran, honestly. For Clem to be able to bring the game back to something that is playable and potentially even an advantage is ridiculous. Yep. I'm gonna bestow upon him the title of Gamer. That's big. That is big. We go back into Hellbats. I guess Clem has decided that Rainor's economy is not that big anymore. Clem has also decided, though, not to make any more additional SCVs. So, Reynor doesn't really quite know it yet, but this is going to be, I think, a complete all-in for Clem, where he's trying to bring in one death ball and go for one push. It'll be a very scary army. I really like, by the way, that he's prioritizing the armor upgrade for the Hellbats. It means that they can eat even more. I guess they turn into like mini Archons now, right? They can turn, they can kill even more Banelings just with their bodies. It's gonna be a scary push, though. Reynor is also maxed, and fighting this Zerg army on creep is really dangerous. Fungal? I don't know if you fungal this, actually. Well, that was still a good fight. Corruptors, in the meantime, trying to chase down the Medivacs, and I think this will all be sniped. Push at the front. Ooh, big fumbles. Yeah, and when the Ultras actually do roll in, right, and when the Banelings do connect, suddenly that Terran army can still disappear. Clem's supply count just took an absolute nosedive. It looks to me like Reynor is still going to be able to get the job done. But I don't believe he's going to be entirely happy with it. This is one of those cases where you'll probably see the players shake their heads. Maybe the end result is identical to what they wanted, but the ways in which we're getting there are certainly not ideal. This is the old main base? No, not quite. He's just flying that extra orbital command down to the bottom, but I don't see how we're ever going to be able to secure that. Zerg is now going to be able to engage reliably off creep. More and more Zerglings running through. Keep in mind, though, the Rainer's economy is also not that big. 70 workers is respectable. But Ultralists are costly. And mules are really good. Both Reynor and Clem are very momentum-heavy players. Not just as far as the games go, but also as far as the series goes. Usually, when one of them starts winning, they really try to keep it going. It seems like almost like a mental switch that they can flip. And that they have a very hard time unflipping if it doesn't go their way. I feel like there's like two types of top-level StarCraft players, I think. Like guys like Clem, they seem to be very momentum-heavy, right? But if you look at, for example, a Terran player like Maru, as we have the Corruptors going in and a big counterattack over here. Maru never really seems to be able to... He never really struggles with it. Oh, Fungal? Fungal's gonna be big. Massive Fungal here yet again. And when the Ultras are fighting, man, they do certainly hit. The Corruptors did successfully caustic spray everything down. Zergling runbys left, right, and center. Clem is considering moving deeper onto the creep, but he knows that's going to be a difficult call to make. One Hellbat just here for a little bit of a distraction. What a scrappy game. Another hatchery does die here, though. Not a lot of Banelings here in the mix. Resources lost twice. This is surprisingly good for Zerg. It's kind of crazy, right? 66 SCVs have died. Rainar has got a really nice eco advantage. His upgrades are good. He's got solid creep spread throughout this game. He killed so many workers, especially early on. The trading has been about a 1-to-1. And Clem is still making this look like he's in it. This is one of those games as well where, for the rest of the series, it can turn into an absolute clown show. Where both players have already used up all mental stamina. I secretly, morbidly, I kind of want to see that, It's always fun when you have the pro gamers absolutely going insane for the remainder of the series. But this is an exhausting match to start this series, this finals off with. Oh, fungal growth here on a group of SCVs. That now brings Clem down to less workers than he started the game off with. He's got 10 SCVs remaining. "81 SCVs have died this game." Yeah, this is still... I mean, Rainar can lose multiple bases and still be fine. But you can see that Clem is intimidating, right? The fungals are really quite nice, though. I guess the problem with banelings is that Clem is very good at microing against them. And maybe the fungal growth is a little bit more reliable in that sense. GG does get cold. Rainar does get the win in game number 1, but man, did he have to fight for it. Next up, we find ourselves on the Old Republic. Now, I did fast forward through the first 2 minutes of the game, because everything is very normal. Good old hatchery, good old gas geyser, good old spawning pool, and yet again, only pulling one drone out of gas. I wonder if the one drone out of gas is somehow related to the infestor situation. I guess we'll find out in a moment whether or not it is again going to be for that quick +1 armor and then straight into the infestors. So to clarify, right? If the idea to go into fungal growth rather than banelings would be resulting in like a faster Ultralisk transition, it would kind of make sense to me. But you don't really end up with a faster Ultralisk transition. You can get Ultras out really quick. And usually you can do so with banelings just fine. So it kind of feels like it's a trade-off. Do you go banelings or do you go infestors? Either way, your hive is going to be pretty much at the same time. And if that's the case, would you prefer going roly-poly banelings, or do you prefer going into 2 or 3 infestors? I wonder if it's specific against Clem, because we have seen this from Clem, right? Clem really has gotten ridiculously good at sniping the banelings before they can connect. Back in the day, people would struggle fighting slow banelings on creep. And then over time, obviously, well, we learned that Terran players got better, and that you learn to pinpoint exactly where they need to go. The splitting, obviously, is such a normal style these days. But Clem is very good at pointing out the individual roly-poly banelings, the ones with the movement speed improvement, on creep as well. And when Clem is on the... when he's in like a flow state, he doesn't really ever seem to take a lot of damage from the bane. So I wonder if that's the reason why Rainar has decided that banelings are now a no-go. We did see this as well, of course, from, for example, Scarlet against Clem. She also delayed banelings for a really long time. Ooh, okay. Well, whatever we've got going here, it is not going to be infestors quickly. Instead, we're going into a Spire. Muta play seems to be very popular, by the way, on the Old Republic. Quick armory here actually from Clem, so he is looking to go for some sort of Hellbat push. Overseer moves through the right side of the map. You will see, okay, this is all a little weird. Armory indeed is going to be spotted. We do not have banelings against this, nor... Okay, he starts it up now. Nor do we have a Roach Warren. Now, this baneling nest is going to be too late. I don't believe he's going to be able to get the defense done against this type of unit composition in time, so let's see. I love the medevac, by the way. The medevac is so nice here. You can heal those Hellbats up. Zergling runby is going to be moving across. Spinecrawler will be used for the base defense instead. All of this becomes so much harder, though, without banelings. Without roaches. You cut so many corners to get the infestors going, and then you're still playing infestors. I don't... This will be defended, though. Reinforcing links are going to be showing up eventually. And I think the queens will be able to get the job done. We did have a nice little counterattack as well. Some of the drones will also fall, though. That's 5 already. Make it 8. Make it 9. Yeah. So another downside to slowing down your baneling transition is this, right? You suddenly are extremely vulnerable to very normal Terran pushes. We rarely actually see Hellbat timing attacks do anything these days. But I guess this can still show you how fragile the early game is for every race in StarCraft 2. Still, now that that push has been cleared out, Reynor is going to be able to grab map control. That is, of course, where mutas are so good. I don't think Clem has seen the Spire. So what's kind of nice here is the positioning of the Spire. If Clem were to scan the main base to see if like a hive has started up, it is not necessarily certain that he would also be scanning the Spire, in case you're wondering why the Spire has been put all the way onto the edge. Mutas are going to show up, but there is already defense in place. I mean, mutas are very popular on Old Republic in general. Clem is gonna have, okay, a Marine Scout. He's already got a Widow Mine in place, and he already has missile turrets in each mineral line too. It does look, though, like we are going to double down to mass mutas. +1 air weapons, researching. Nice split by Rainar. Minimizing the amount of damage. Bunker is going to be coming up instead. Second factory, though, already out front, and I'm expecting to see a 4th command center here in a bit. Yep. 4th hatchery now also in the middle. But I think Clem can be pretty happy with how this is going, right? He did a bunch of damage with the Hellbat push. He did not get overwhelmed by the initial influx of the mutas. He knows he's going to be in a good upgrade situation. Now, losing a medevac here does kind of suck. And you do have to play that defensive style now, which a lot of Terrans don't necessarily love. But look at this, right? +2/+2 has already begun for Terran. +1/+1 is only like half a minute or so in right now for the Zerg. So any timing attack moving forward is going to just hit so freaking hard. Good splitty again, negating a lot of the splash. But I'm a little bit worried here for Rainar. Now, Clem is not really the type of Terran player that will sit back and twiddle his thumbs for too long. There's hardly a reason for him to attack, but I guess he gets bored quickly. Maybe we need to get subway servers on the right side of the screen, you know? Whilst playing, I mean. We need to be min-maxing everything we do. Now, this is a bit of an early push, but it is a scary one for the Zerg nonetheless. Keep in mind that Terran does have a double upgrade advantage here. Hydra then on the back of this. So Rainar thinking about maybe going... Ooh, Thor almost dying there inside of the medevac. Rainar thinking about maybe going into the good old Lurkers now, moving forward. This tournament, by the way, the Big Gabe Cup, it is pretty sick. I checked this. I looked this up the last time it was running, which I think was late 2024. And at the time, the prize pool was like $1,000, and now it's back once again, right? And they've apparently quintupled the prize pool, which is not too shabby. This was all played at an offline venue, so all these players in this tournament were actually there. As far as I know, anyways. Clem and Rainar certainly were. Pretty neat. The competitive season, though, has once more begun for StarCraft 2. For the holidays, it's always a little bit slower. But I know that, well, so this tournament, it took place in Cologne in Germany. And I know that there's a bunch of tournaments happening as well soon in China, where both of these guys will be participating. Then there's another tournament again in Germany after that. So there's a lot of stuff happening once more. There will be a lot of traveling involved for the both of them. But this is right at the very beginning, I think, of all of that traveling that they may have to do. Lurker then is coming. Terran pushes, though, are now moving out. And this is, of course, with 2-2 now. Suddenly, Terran is maxed. And these are the type of attacks that, yeah, Clem is just an absolute master at. He did take more damage there from the Banelings than he would have liked, but he gets so much work done regardless. The drops here do get cleaned up by the Mutas and the Queens. But already, I mean, we're now talking 4-base Zerg versus 4-base Terran. 5th command center, more than halfway done. 6th hatchery now restarts again at the bottom. But obviously, after losing a base already, this is all a little bit painful. We now have Lair-Tech Lurkers coming up because the hive is not yet done. It all feels a little bit messy. For Clem, it seems like the perfect flow, right? In the way that he is progressing up the tech ladder. For Rainar, it seems very disjointed. Now, this is nice, though. Oh! A double Baneling Mines. A little rare. But these are Lairtech Lurkers. Yeah. Yeah. So there's 2 upgrades at Hive that make the Lurkers really good. And Reynor, well, he didn't have the upgrades yet. A lot of Terran players get scared as soon as they see Lurkers, but Clem looked at the range of those Lurker spines and apparently decided immediately that it was not something he needed to be worried about yet. Now the ranged upgrade is researching, but it'll be a bit until it's done. Still, Rainar is stable on a good economy. We definitely need to be saturating this extractor over here. Ooh. Was that a Nidus worm? Ah, yeah, it is. Nidus network is going to be added into the mix now. Maybe the Mutas can provide the vision to potentially, well, pop that Nidus worm into the main base. Widowmine drops, man. I kind of love the late game Widowmine drops. They're insanely annoying to deal with. It's a high APM play. But it is something that can just straight up win you the game if you're getting the really juicy connections. Ghost production has begun for Clem. This is just the type of game that I've seen Clem win so many times that even though I'm looking at this match objectively, right? I'm looking at how much economy Zerg has and all the units he ends up with. I really do like this position for Clem better, just because Clem is a beast. He never really loses from this spot in the first place. Still though, maybe today is gonna be the day. Baneling's trying to roll through, but that was once more pretty much perfect defense by the Terran. He's now gonna be able to burst through, get some of the scans down, snipe all of the Lurkers. Mutas in the main base are also pushed around, and while the Zerglings did deal a bunch of damage up north, it looks like the command center has decided to set up shop on the right side of the map instead. Now it's Clem who's thinking about going on the offense. At this point, he has finished the 3-3 upgrades. Still 2 upgrades ahead. It's one of the reasons why these fights look so nice for him. Okay. Hydra ranged on the back of this. +3 armor coming up as well. Rainar at +1, +2, +2, +2. It's one of the difficult things about switching from a Ling Bane-based army into a Lurker-based army. How do you decide what upgrades to go for? None of those upgrades really overlap. Whereas obviously for Terran, all of those infantry units will benefit from the same stuff. Now a bunch of ghosts do end up going down. This was a good catch here by Rainar. Nidus worm into the main base. We do have a Marauder patrolling. Clem not quite shutting it down though because he's busy microing over here on the right side. Nidus worm is going to spit out at least a bunch of Lurkers. We do have some Marauders loaded into the Medivacs as well. They were probably meant to be unloaded over here. It doesn't matter though. That's like, what, 6 Lurkers going down? 150 gas each. Nidus worm is not free either. Clem is just a gamer, man. What an absolute beast, seriously. These are matches that are so tough to play for Terran, but we almost... You get accustomed to how clean Clem's execution is in the late game. We've been seeing this against Protoss as well in so many matches. Late game Protoss army has so much splash damage. Here we go again, though. He's setting up a perfect concave. Yeah, and it kind of feels like Rainar is constantly moving through, trying to get lucky, right? Like, his strategy is to try and hope. Cross your fingers and pray that somehow the Nidus worm goes up. Cross your fingers and pray that the opponent doesn't scan in time or works into the Lurkers or maybe get fungal growth to the face or like, it's all these little plays, and I guess that's maybe what the Zerg late game is all about. You do kind of rely on the opponent making mistakes, I suppose. In the history of StarCraft, though, ooh, that was a nice fungal. Terran players have always made mistakes. Ooh, that was a nice dash as well. Getting those Hydras really close. Yeah, but Clem is just a beast. And this isn't even his final form. This is like Super Saiyan 3. There's multiple seasons past this point. Clem is gonna go deeper than that. We're going into the Liberator transition right now, slowly but surely. He's not really in a rush. But with Liberators added into the mix, well, that's like Super Saiyan 7. He's gonna grow a tail, his hair is gonna go blonde, and he's gonna summon the power of the universe. Well, Reynor does get another worm up, but at this point, the Nidus worm is empty. Yeah, if you compare this to the previous match, right? The resources lost are so much better for the Terran. Rainer's economy is still nice, but the creep spread has been hindered a lot. And at this point, I think the main thing that Reynor can do is hope for a lucky fungal. I think that's what you do. EMP right over there on an infestor that already had no energy. Yeah, look away, Zerg players. This is bullying. They should play this at schools as like an anti-bullying campaign. GG. Alrighty, next up, White Rabbit. Map number 3 in this best of 5 finals. So again, because Clem is coming from the upper bracket, if he wins this best of 5, he wins the tournament. If Reynor, already using up one of his 2 lives in this event, if Reynor ends up winning the best of 5, we play one additional best of 3 reset match. Clem already, though, going into the tried and true build order. This is looking like triple command center 1-1-1. Probably Hellion Banshee. Clem will play late games like the ones we've been seeing over and over and over again if he has to. And even though, right, it was Reynor that won the first map, it still kind of felt, at least mentally, like a Clem victory. I mean, Clem fell behind early on, but still somehow, some way made a game out of it. This is technically a full reset, but I think if you're Reynor, like your first, maybe 8 minutes or so of the entire grand finals were pretty much perfect. And ever since then, it's been an uphill battle. So ever since like the last half hour or so of playing, it feels like Clem has been winning. And I'm sure he would like to continue the trend. Yeah, men with gun, pretty good. That is what they did in Warhammer 40k, where they gave the Tyranids guns as well. Can you imagine a roach with a plasma rifle or whatever? I don't really know exactly what sort of weaponry they use, but that would be hype. Then again, the Tyranids also have their brains hanging out, so maybe don't really take too much advice from them. Little bit suboptimal, I'm sure. As somebody who has barely a brain, I feel like, yeah, leaving it inside of my skull is where it probably should be. Oh, we're going into a Liberator. So it's not going to be Hellion Banshee. It's not going to be Hellion Raven. It is going to be Hellion Liberator. Yet again, though, the Zergling runbys are annoying. Yeah, and even though we do have those Hellions driving around, and even though the mining here of the Zerg has been disrupted, we did see 13 SCVs fall. Looks like there was a nice little drone barbecue for just a moment, 5 of them going down. But this is too much damage dealt here by the Zerg yet again. It's not quite 17 like it was in game 1 of this series. It's not quite 0 losses like it was on the side of the Zerg in game number 1, but this is, yeah, still a fantastic spot right here for the Zerg. Okay, and Rainar has decided to mix things up. Is it a full wall off? Yeah. Full wall off at the front. Roaches right here with +1 armor. Liberator trying to see if it can potentially get some harassment. Okay, that was just to, I guess, push those Hellions away. Make sure they couldn't drive into the base yet again. Liberator having a good time. But here comes the Queen squad. Pew! Pew! Pew, 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 pew. Okay. What about the Hellions? Rainor's been saving up some money, by the way. Are we gonna make roaches? No, we go into a lair. A lair with a second Evo chamber on the back of this, and in the meantime, we have the third command center nearly done. A little bit scrappy, though, across the board. And this is definitely a better early game here for Reynor. After running those lings into the opponent's natural expansion, I think he can be very pleased with how this is going. Now, what's the follow-up going to be? Because we are mixing things up. +1 missile? Okay. Do we just go roaches with roach speed and double upgrades and that's it? Do we use the roaches as a stepping stone to go into lurkers and a hive yet again? Or what do we do? What's the plan? I think as far as the Terran's decision goes, it's a little bit more straightforward. I think we're gonna go... This is crazy, okay? But I've got a feeling we're gonna go for a unit composition based around Marine Medevac. Probably with Widow Mines for support. Maybe some Hellions if he notices indeed that it might not be Banelings. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here. Maybe a transition to Ghosts in the late game. Maybe double upgrades and then an armory to go straight into the +2/+2. Yeah, I think for Terran here, it's a little bit more predictable. As far as what Rainor's doing here, there's a bunch of options. I would not mind it if he decided to just go for like a weird +1/+1 roach speed all in. This is the absolute first build order that I learned playing Zerg in about 2010. Give or take 100 balance patches ago, but it's still relevant. It's still a decent strat. I think that's actually what we have. This is roaches with +1/+1 and roach speed. The way in which Reynor got there is very different than we used to in 2010, but the execution might just be mostly the same. Yeah, so now you go. You just chase this down, I think. Maybe use the reinforcing units to deal with the medevacs. Use the queens as well. Yeah. The main problem, of course, is that, well, siege tanks are very powerful. In this particular instance, though, it's Widow Mine. So, a little strange here by Clem. I think Clem was reading this as another type of game where there would not be any sort of Banelings. So, rather... Well, that's another unit that didn't exist in 2010. But rather than going into siege tanks and all the rest of it, okay, Clem now recognizes that this is a Zerg all-in. A misread here from the French Terran, and it forces him to leave. A Winter Madness. Game 4 in this best of 5. I'm a little surprised that Clem was surprised by the roach attack. Like, he saw that the opponent was going roaches because he saw the roach warren. Now, usually when you go roaches, you do skip out on any sort of Baneling play for a while, but that's because you got roaches. And it's hardly a reason, right? Seeing your opponent going roaches is hardly a reason to start making Hellions and Hellbats. I think there was maybe a little bit of a... Yeah, maybe a misclick by Clem, or maybe just he didn't quite read the game properly. Obviously, there's a million things happening, right? Usually what happens if you're, say, for example, Clem, and you see 2 buildings building over here, when you scout with your Hellions or whatever, is you click them like this. Pop, 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 and you glance at the bottom section, or the middle section of the screen at the bottom. Pop, pop, you click, and you hope that you can glance exactly... It can only really be Evo Chambers, Baneling Nests, or Roach Warrens, but you give yourself about 1/10 of a second to read 2 lines of text. And maybe he misclicked, maybe he just misread it. But that little mistake did cost him. So we go back into Hellions, but I think this is going to be this is actually a very greedy build. Triple Command Center, double upgrades immediately. If Zerg does any sort of early game aggression here, Clem is very dead. And that would mean we're going to the reset match. But if he gets away with this, well, the economy is going to be absolutely booming. I'm assuming we're going to go into a second barracks here in a moment. Start pumping out some Marines. but there will be very little out on the map. Now, what's kind of nice about this build, right, is that for the Zerg, you just see a bunch of Hellions driving by, as per usual. It's not uncommon for Terrans to chill with the Hellions instead of the natural for a little bit anyways. So it's not like there is a set timing at which Zerg should see Hellion 3 and 4 drive past his Overlord. That's exactly what Clem is trying to do right here too. So I don't think Rainar recognizes that this is indeed a very greedy build here from the Terran. And honestly, there's not really a whole lot that he can do about it. Lair's coming up. Double Evo Chamber? No, just going to be a single one for now. Probably Carapace again. And this is looking an awful lot like an Infestor opener. Now, I will say, the Infestor opener is interesting if you are a ladder hero and you... I'm not saying this would ever happen to any of you, but it does happen to me from time to time. You know when you go up to a lair and you forgot making the Baneling Nest? You can just now, and I guess this is the big advantage, you can just pretend that you were going Infestors in the first place. You can just pretend you're a professional gamer and meant to skip the Banelings until the late game. Yeah. It's a legitimate strategy now. Very smart. Normally, you try to line up the lair finishing with the Baneling Nest finishing, so you can go into Baneling speed eventually, but since Reynor... Ooh, Hydra Den? Hydra Den? Hydra Den Spinecrawler. I don't know what the Zerg players have been cooking lately, man. This is Hydra Ling. Hydra Ling Queen. Aren't you setting yourself up for another late game here? Because this always leads to Lurkers, or maybe a timing attack, but you can't go for a timing attack without Banelings, can you? Zergling run by, oh, almost again. 2-2, by the way, has already been fired up here by the Terran extremely early. Very greedy by Clem, who's just chilling. Clem is not really feeling the need to be too aggressive. He scans the main, sees the Hydras. Yeah, and it is indeed going to be Lurkers. Lurker then pops up already in the natural, 6 minutes in. But this is going to be Lurkers now without a hive. Because we don't have an infestation pit. Maybe Rainar has asked ChatGPT what sort of build order he should play. This kind of reads like an AI build order. It's like, technically, it doesn't have to be terrible, but it doesn't make much sense. And I guess if you have really good mechanics, you can get away with stuff, but... there's very little flow here. For Terran, everything is a well-oiled machine. Rainar's build order feels like a car that hasn't been powered up in like 5 years, and it's kind of working. It's sort of working. But it needs to warm up for a while. Eventually, though, when he gets to the late game and he gets all the upgrades done, it's going to be great. It's just a bit messy. There's the Lurkers coming up. But Lairtech Lurkers. Lairtech Lurkers? Infestation pit now? Lairtech Lurkers. What? Seriously? What? Lairtech Lurkers? Empty medevac, by the way, trying to go around. Ah, it's here to provide vision. Kind of a cute play. So in case you haven't seen this yet, this is a new thing that Terrans have been mixing in lately. Ah, I love this, actually. So... one of the recent nerfs they have made to Terran is that the Liberator no longer gets to full vision of the circle. It means that the Liberators can actually shoot away further than they can see. That's why the medevac is here. And this is a change that they've done specifically because the map makers have been practically begging for it for the last 5+ years. They tried to make sure that spots like this do not exist. Turns out Terran players hate map makers. Or at least Clem does. Because Clem has found a solution, and it's to bring a medevac into the mix too. Reynor is unable to hit that Liberator. He needs to go Spire, or a Viper, to try and abduct it. But he cannot actually reach that Lib. And this is a Liberator without advanced ballistics. 20 Widowmine kills, by the way. Not too shabby. Yeah, this is actually just a really bad spot here for Zerg. There's so many workers just not mining here. This lib is gonna get loads of kills. I wonder if maybe the queens can hug this mineral line and then kill the medevac? But I guess you just move the medevac out of position at that point as a Terran. Alright, we have 3 tech labs on the production tab. That means that barracks 6, 7, and 8 are done. Clem is trying to brute force the engagement with the lurkers. Seismic Spine's now coming up. Yeah, so what are we gaining here as Zerg, right? Like, what are we really getting done? We're alive. Like, if the win condition was like it is in some of the campaign missions, you know? Like, survive the Terran attacks for 20 minutes. Like, if that was the win condition of a game of StarCraft 2, sure, I'm on board with it. So the medevac, by the way, did die. You see what I mean? Now it can't shoot at the maximum range anymore. Then I think the strategy would be okay. But Clem could be as greedy as he wants to be. The only thing that really can hurt Clem at this point is a zergling run-by. Clem is pushing into lurkers with marines. Those lurkers still do not have their hive tech upgrades. It's seconds away from finishing, but most of the lurkers are already finished. The hatchery now dies. Yeah, if Terran ends up getting nerfed a bunch, or maybe Zerg ends up getting buffed a bunch, I think Clem is gonna regret being this good at the game. Like, Clem is ruining it for Terran players, man. Like, as soon I hear myself talk here, and I'm not sure what the solution is for Zerg. It seems like Rainar here is trying whatever is possible, and nothing he does seems to work. Here we go again. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, Clem is a monster. Not only is he a gamer, he's a monster too. He got 2 titles. Ghost Academy now nearly done. Fusion Core is going to allow those Liberators to get their ranged upgrade. It's gonna allow the medevacs to get the energy regen. And while we do get a nice parasitic bomb and Rainar is still surviving, I mean, this is 4 base Zerg struggling to stay alive against a Terran that is making about 17 command centers now. Okay, give or take 17. Give or take 10. 7 command centers. But seriously, it's a disaster. Clem is finally, though, pushed away. And you know, this is what Raynar's been building up for the entire game long. It's taken him 12 minutes, but we have arrived at Hydra Lurker Viper, Hive Tech, all upgrades pretty much done that are important. I mean, we're missing a lot of Evo Chamber upgrades, whereas Terran already finished 3-3, but at least now Rainar can maybe play. I don't know. Maybe he can go and attack? Oh, free kills in the middle of the map. That's nice. I think Clem is having a really good time playing this game. I think he's loving it. I don't want to be the StarCraft 2 psychologist again, but I think he is. This is the type of game he loves to play. Okay. Well, this is annoying though for Terran, right? Getting those lurkers in the natural expansion right outside your front door, now in the 3rd base. This is one of the things that is extremely annoying for Terran. Does kill the hatchery once more. But this is one of those things where Zergs just kind of burrow the lurkers, and Terran takes about 100 APM for each of them to clean them up. "20 SCVs die. Rainar may be onto something. The only problem is that his economy is just atrocious. He's on, like, he killed 22 SCVs. But at this point, there are so many orbital commands already done. Rainar is on 3 bases. We're nearly 14 minutes in. That means that the main is going to be out. The natural's pretty much empty. The 3rd base, yeah, this is, I think that was a really nice counterattack here by Rainar, but Clem is Clem is dominating. It did cost a lot of scans, though. That wasn't cheap. This kind of feels like an all-in right now for the Zerg. Oh. Clem just cut him off. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Unless Rainar wins. Then we play another best of 3 as the reset match. The map is Tourmaline. Let's see what we can go ahead and do. Clem was already thinking about building a command center there a little too early. At least the SCV was rallied all the way down to the low ground. Not going to be the case. Yeah, when Clem is in shape, when he's getting the correct reads, when he's not running ahead of himself too much, he seems pretty much unbeatable. Well, I say that, yet again, of course, we have not seen Cyril play all too much StarCraft as of late. At least as of me casting this, there aren't that many Cyril games out there, and I really don't know what to expect, right? So, Cyril has been playing some StarCraft here and there. He's still very highly ranked on the ladder. I'm sure he's been practicing. He just hasn't been participating in events as much as these two have. So, Clem is widely considered to be the #1 Terran on the planet. We see him, well, compete all the freaking time. Like, he plays in practically every tournament under the sun. You host a $500 tournament. The odds of Clem signing up, if it fits in his schedule, are like pretty much 100%. We can say the same thing as well for Protoss, right? So, with the top-ranking Protoss players in the world, you gotta think of names like Hero, Classic, Max Specs. They compete in pretty much everything. And while Reynor is one of the very best Zerg players on the planet, at least historically, Cyril has always been one step ahead. So you always gotta take the data with a grain of salt. In a way, actually, like if you look at just the win rate per matchup, if you look at the balance reports, so those are usually hosted once a month on Aligilek. If you look at just the balance report, Clem is kind of inflating those numbers for his own race a little bit. And the fact that Cyril doesn't play in a whole lot of tournaments actually drags it down because it takes the averages of the other Zerg players. Right? Like if you have the very best players for the respective races, except for one of the 3 races playing, it does benefit Zerg in a strange way. Because it makes Zerg look weaker than it actually is, because Cyril doesn't play much. It's confusing. Now, I do think it's probably an issue, though, if we look at like some of the tournament games coming up in the near future, and we also see Cyril struggling a ton. Oh, nice creep tumor snipe over here. If Cyril is also unable to really find something that seems to reliably work, I guess that's one of the frustrations here for the Zergs, right? Clem is mostly doing the same build over and over and over again. Rainar has been doing something else every game thus far, and sometimes he can pull a trick off, sometimes he can get it to work, but it doesn't seem to be too reliable. Seems like Terran has a few S-tier strategies, and Zerg has like 7 or 8 A-tier strategies, but no S-tier strategy. Does that make any sense? It's a little bit messy, but maybe it's just not discovered. I'm not sure. Either way, this pesky little Reaper has been doing a good job. Triple command center, 2-1-1 here. No starport just yet, but it'll be added into the mix in a moment. Clem opting to go for the good old Stimpack opener yet again. Okay. Yeah, I guess Terran in general doesn't have a lot of flexibility in their builds. I mean, technically, right, if you think about it, Terran should be the most flexible race, because you can make anything from a Marine to a battlecruiser by, like, minute 5. But in actual TVP and actual TVZ, Terran is the most limited by far. Kind of weird. Anyways, Roachborn coming up again for Rainar. It did work out brilliantly for him. In, what was that? Game number 3 of this series. That was a misread, though, from Clem. But considering the amount of resources we have right now... Wait, are we doing a Roach all-in? A Roach all-in off of 1 gas is a little bit weird. He did get Ling speed done. No, he's making drones right now on the back of this. Okay. Thought for a second this was like a Roach all-in with a Ling flood on the back of this. That would have been the case if he decided to skip the drones. 5 roaches for base defense, it seems. It's always a bit scary, though, especially if you're the Terran here, because the third base of the Zerg is so far forward. It's pretty much... Hey, not quite neighbors, but it is very close to the Terran. Double engineering bay in the back. No Banshees available, of course, for Clem here in this game, so he decided to go for the second barracks. It means that you do get a lot of Marines out, and Stimpak is nice and quick. Stimpak is actually timed perfectly here to deal with a roach all-in. Quite like that, actually, here for Clem. I wonder if that was a choice by him, or... if it's because Zerg decided to just go for the third base out front. Zergling runby slips right in. While the Marines are chasing down the bunch of roaches. They only kill 2. Okay. 3 SCVs and a Hellion here for 14 lings. Not the end of the world right here for the Frenchman. Lair is going to be done in a moment. No Evo chamber. Well, we have an Evo chamber, but no Evo chamber upgrade. A little odd. Yeah, just prioritizing roach speed and +1. Okay, wait. Prioritizing +1 and then probably roach speed on the back of this. The gas management here from Reynor throughout this series has not been very clean. We've seen a handful of mistakes in that regard. Yeah, we found multiple refineries, or extractors rather, for the Zerg just not saturated. It makes all of this a little bit messy. Like, it's fixed now. But it's not fixed as quickly as it probably should be. Clem, mechanically an absolute monster. Clem seems to hardly skip a beat. Like, you never really catch Clem hitting supply blocks or slowing down his upgrades because he didn't realize 1-1 finished up or anything along those lines. Clem is actually an absolute beast as far as macro goes. I know I've been praising Clem this entire series, but he has certainly been impressive in that regard again too today. Zerglings are going to be needed here to buy a little bit of time for the roaches to show up. Looks like a Zergling or 2 did try their absolute best to kill some of the SCVs, and they successfully killed 2, but not quite enough. 4th Command Center, though, fires up here. Second factory, did we already make one? No, we don't have a second factory yet. That's a little bit odd. He's opting to go siege tanks this time around. Look at the armory finishing up right when 1-1 does. Perfect. Straight into 2-2. I mean, we rarely highlight this because it's almost come to be the norm at the highest level, but seriously, it's very easy when you're microing multiple fights at the same time and you're trying to get your drops out and all the rest of it to have like a 20-second delay here, a 20-second delay there. It adds up very quickly. Rainar does just have an awful lot of stuff, by the way. This is roaches with roach speed and +1 armor. This is what he tried to go for in that previous game that he won. Clem is out on the map right now. Is this just like the old school Zerg opener? I mean, it's wearing a different coat. It looks slightly different in 2026, but it seems awfully effective. Yeah, this is baby's first timing attack. If you pick up the Zerg for Dummies book, this will be... yeah, that's what it is. It's just the very first push that most Zerg players learn. And it's still awfully effective. This is not something that's gonna go away, Clem. Your reinforcing units are not gonna be enough to really deal with this. No lift on the command center. He was trying his absolute best to kill this hatchery up north. Not going to happen. Clem now, if he wants to keep this base alive, needs to leave the main. Okay, Stim gets activated. Look at the supply count right now, though. Some of these Terran units getting sandwiched. Ravagers may be a little bit far forward, but it doesn't really matter if you have this many roaches. Some of them caught by the corrosive biles. Leading the charge as well. Rainar has got his opponent exactly where he needs him. An old school timing attack, but one that is still effective to this day. And while Clem is desperately trying to hold on, I think the economy here is just not good enough. GG gets called. That means we go to the reset match. Okay, Winter Madness. Game number 1 in this best of 3 series. So again, the reason we get a reset match is because it's a double elimination format. And with a double elimination format, if you come from the upper bracket, it means that you have not yet lost a series in the tournament. In this particular instance, that's Clem. Meaning that Rainar effectively just took down Clem's first life in the event. Rainar had already lost the series, actually losing in the upper bracket finals to Clem. Meaning that he had to drop down to the lower bracket, used up one of his lives. I believe he ended up beating, I think it was Lambo in the lower bracket finals. Bringing him into the grand finals yet again. Now, I think it's a great format as far as competitiveness goes. I think it's pretty terrible as far as explaining it to people go. I actually think it's better to just play one best of 7 for all the marbles. Just for simplicity's sake. But a lot of the I tried to combine the word competitor and competition. A lot of the competitors really like this way of getting the job done. Starport on the back it is right now for Clem. Triple comment center. This is what happens when you yap a lot. You come up with new words. Competitor should definitely be a word. I mean, it's English. We can make it a word if we all try it together. Right? If we all try hard enough together, we can get the job done. Why does competition get an extra syllable anyways? Makes no sense. Ooh, nice little drone snipe over there by Clem. Rubbing a little bit of salt in. Yeah, sometimes I think English makes no sense, and then I, in my head, translate the words to Dutch. And I realize they make even less sense in Dutch, but I obviously don't bring that up, because it doesn't fit my argument. Ah, got him. The Dutch word for competition is competitie. The Dutch word for competitor is deelnemer. That means partaker. Deelnemer would be partaker. Oh, careful right here with the Hellions. Maybe we should stop using the word competitor. We just use the word partakers instead. Now, the Hellions here have been a little nasty, but the losses have been minimized. Rainar is dancing with fire, quite literally. But it turns out he can dance. Spore crawlers being made. Not quite in time yet to actually deal with the Banshee. Rainar also forced to take this out in the open third hatch, though. Not usually the one that Zerg players like to have. Ooh. Do we have enough links? That's a lot of Hellions. The Queen's obviously distracted right now by that Banshee. Man, Reynor is playing on the edge, but I think he's just barely fine. 4 drones only here, considering he didn't have detection, is actually kind of insane. I feel like those Hellions have been very close. Ooh, grenade right there helping Brenda get back onto the creep. The Hellions have been very close to roasting an entire mineral line. But not quite close enough. Okay. Reynor wants it, though. He wants to get the surround onto those Hellions. Likewise, Clem really wants to get into that mineral line. Decides to not throw away the units for free. Second factory out front. We'll probably have a 4th command center here in a moment. The Banshee, by the way, being a bit of a nuisance now. Oh. Ooh, transfusion on a drone. Yeah, Clem is so good with these little units, man. We've actually got 11 drones killed, and I think it's all the Banshees. Yeah, well, not quite all. We saw that Reaper getting a kill, but every other worker kill so far has been made by those 2 Banshees in this match. Baneling speed coming up here for Reynor. This is a very classic build order here from the Zerg. So it's quick Bane speed into 1-1. Apparently we've done away with the Infestor shenanigans. And maybe we'll find out in this particular game why we see Zerg players steering away from using Banelings against Clem. Why they have been prioritizing Infestors instead. I mean, this is going to be a difficult attack, though, for Terran, regardless of what you do. There's only one siege tank in the mix. Oh, well, this is weird. We just walk in? Okay. Generally, you don't want to walk your Banelings into the tank, but you know what? That was a very aggressive way to get the Terran player off your lawn. Well, it worked. You know, if the end goal was indeed to get that Terran player to disappear, it did end up working out just fine. A little expensive, though, for the Zerg, of course. Those Banelings, yet again, not cheap. Look at Clem immediately retargeting that. You see that? I think that's why the Zerg players have been loving Infestors against Clem instead. Clem immediately retargeting on every single one of those Banes, shift queuing in between them. Spawning pool in some trouble. You don't want to lose your spawning pool, actually. Ooh, Widowmine. Nice retargeting there as well by Clem. Trying to hit the... ooh. You came to the wrong neighborhood! Alright, that'll be the end of that. Girl squad, move out! This is what the old people at the supermarket complain about, you know? They don't feel safe anymore when they go shopping. It's because Brenda and the ladies are hanging out. Yeah, and Clem is playing with fire. I mean, the Hellions are dead, but he's still going. With the fire anyways. A lot of losses on the side of the Terran. Not really achieving that much, although this is hardly a terrible position for him. The Baneling number is now growing. 2-2 is not yet finished. Normally, that's what Terran players wait for with this type of attack, but Clem is maxed. So he figures, you know what, let's go ahead and give it a try. Widowmines, though, creating a literal minefield out here. Siege tank on the high ground is going to get destroyed. Banelings over here are split against. And you could almost hear Rainar scream at his monitor here. See? This is why we don't make Banes. A couple of burrowed Banelings, though. Onto the choke point. Onto the ramp. Reinforcing Terran units are showing up here now. Of course, they now don't take the ramp. I feel like as soon as you start burrowing Banelings, there's like a 90% probability that that ramp will never, ever be taken ever again. Clem's fourth command center now up and running. Command center number 5 added into the mix. We're now talking 8 barracks in total. We should have 2 factories as well producing. Yep. Starport number 2 coming up. A Liberator transition is likely imminent. And I guess what Reynor is struggling with at this point in the match is the transition towards Hive. So... ooh, Banelings trying their best. Raynor's kind of stuck playing this, like, never-ending lair tech attack, right? Like, he's going non-stop lair units. I mean, we do have an infestation pit eventually, I'm sure. We do have a Lurker den right now as well, but... Terran is smoothly transitioning towards their equivalent of Hive tech, whereas Reynor is just playing more mid-game. Extra command centers coming up. That tree is gonna fall. He's been fighting for that one for a very long time. Oh, finally that Baneling detonation does indeed happen. It's nice, but the supply dip didn't last very long. I think it lasted about a second. Little Marine squad yet again coming up. Yeah, and Clem just doesn't skip a beat, man. Like, when he starts rolling, it's insane, right? Like, +3/+3 coming up. Let's look at a little bit of first-person view right here for the Terran. So this is what he is looking at whilst playing the match. You can see the APM reflected mostly in the bottom right-hand corner with the selection panel. And obviously they have a different playing interface, but you can still see what his actual selection is like and where the camera is moving around. Sadly, replays do not capture the exact mouse movement. That would be kind of sick. But it's not even really that frantic, right? Like it's... I mean, if you never see first-person StarCraft, maybe this looks extremely annoying, but it's calm. Like, it's calm camera movement. It's not a lot of fancy scrolling. He's probably got one eye pinned to the minimap most of the time. And obviously, most humans out there are incapable of using their eyeballs independently. Maybe one day we'll get chameleon eyes or something, I don't know, but... Clem will constantly be glancing in the bottom left to see if there's anything weird there. Sees the lurkers though, target fires them forward. Moves as well in the meantime, right? On the right side too. Widow Mines. Oh, juicy detonations there for the Terran player. Banelings do show up, and it's gonna force him to at the very least move away. But it's this relentless aggression, like a well-oiled machine here. He just never stops. Like, this is not even a timing attack anymore. It's just non-stop aggression instead. Turns out you don't need timing attacks if you just never stop attacking. Medevac drop inside of the main base. Let me go ahead and take control of the camera here again. Marine drop in the main base does continue. Marine drop on the right side does finish up. And while Rainar has struggled getting to the Hive, getting to the late game, he's there now. Forced to rebuild a spawning pool. A little bit annoying, but at this point he can dedicate his resources to lurkers. He's gonna get the double upgrades here done in the Evo chamber eventually. We are indeed now up to the lurker upgrades, although we do still need to get, there we go, the lurker burrow improvement, and that one's researching. So it's a complicated way of getting there, but Reynor has gotten there. It's easy for Zergs here to be caught in just lair tech. Reynor did not, by the way... Yeah, he lost the spawning pool. He did not yet go Adrenal Glands. Unless I'm looking over it on the upgrades panel, but I don't believe I am. Very important here for him to not forget about it. Losing the spawning pool sucks. He does fire up 3-3, at least for a moment. Cancels it again. Okay, decides to go for the Carapace research instead. There's the Adrenal. So Reynor did not forget. Very important. It's kind of like forgetting combat shields or something like that. It happens from time to time for Terrans too, but... Adrenal Glands is too good. The command center count is growing though. We're up to 9 now. A 10th one, an 11th one get added into the mix. Here's that little hit squad again. The dream team is back. Oh. Map makers molding when they see this sort of thing, dude. Like, no! You're not allowed to do that! Ugh. Well, the Zerg units are running away, but they're not in position to try and deal with this Terran attack before it arrived. Hello, it's one sneeze away from death. Thank you very much. Big Zergling Hydra Bane counterattack, though, here from Rainar. I wonder if you should go after that base a little bit further south. He somehow, some way has not seen it. There's a bunch of command centers there. This feels like it's the first time in a long time that Rainar actually goes on the offensive. And it's a scary push. Lurkers are indeed going to make their way over here too. There are a bunch of lurkers though on the other side of this wall, and they end up getting killed. Rainar right now trying to see if he can get into the main base. Really sketchy for Terran to have to deal with it. A couple of drones apparently are brought in as well by accident. Okay. Maybe Clem was out on the map a little bit too long, leaving his bases wide open. Command center on the natural or in the natural ends up falling. 11 SCVs go down. Suddenly, Rainar strikes back. Lurkers over here, though, are gonna get sniped pretty easily. There's not that many Zerg units available here, but a lot of the Terran is low. Medevacs, because they've been out on the map for so long, are pretty much out of energy every single moment. Zerg reinforcements are showing up right now. Rainar is trying to see if he can overwhelm the main base, while simultaneously taking down the base out front. Low HP units here for the Terran, most of them unable to use stim, because they were already too low. But it looks like he manages to open up the natural yet again. Rainar cancels the lurkers, and I guess Clem survives. Very, very dangerous. Clem was already rebuilding the extra barracks over here on the right side. Yeah. 4 tech labs, baby. Let's go. We can go more marauders, more ghosts. I would not mind seeing the advanced ballistics upgrade together with the Caduceus reactor. I actually think Caduceus reactor here should be prioritized because those medeffects are so empty all the time. We need some energy regen here. I guess some new ones are out. He's actually going a lot of medeffects. We're going 14 medeffects. I think that is Clem feeling the heat here. Probably did not intend to make that many. Well, I guess if you have 14, Caduceus reactor is optional. New hatchery from the Zerg gets spotted. That one's going to be easily killed. Zergling run by yet again, though, straight through the center. A couple marauders try to get the job done. Hey, Clem, by the way, does hit a supply block. Look at that. 192 out of 192. Don't worry. Rainor's going to help him out in that regard. Open up a little bit of the supply. I think it's also due to the fact that he lost a bunch of supply depots. In the meantime, a tiny hit squad in the upper right gets the job done over there. Zerglings burrow in the main base. Reynor, though, is on the hunt. Looks like the third hatchery of Zerg is going to fall. Another orbital command may also bite the dust. This planetary fortress over here on the low ground, though, is critical. And with lurkers attacking it from all sides, yeah, the SCVs are going to die, and so will the command center itself. Zerglings unburrow in the natural. Zerglings unburrow in the main base, too. Once more, Rainar is trying to break open the natural expansion here of the Terran. 23 SCVs have died. Only 38 of those bad boys remain. Lurkers once more are a thorn in Clem's side, but he survives. Forced to fly his command centers all over. He needs to get some minerals available here at some point yet again, because Clem is pretty much broke. Reynor, though, has also spent practically his entire bank. He does still have 76 workers. SCV transfer over here is honestly quite big. The SCVs turn around and decide to fight. New lurkers did pop out of their cocoons just barely in the nick of time. Is it enough, though? Because Clem is stimming in once more. How many scans does he have available? Apparently one more at the very least, and it's enough to get rid of those lurkers once and for all. Reynor decides to rip off the band-aid, and Clem manages to win this game just barely at the very end. Next up, we find ourselves on the map a Ruby Rock. Clem not really mixing it up too much in the early game. No proxy barracks. No command center first. None of that shenanigans. But right away, a little bit of bullying here. SCV blocking the third hatchery potential. And then apparently the Reaper, well, it made a beeline straight to the alternative third. And this is kind of annoying for Zerg, but I also don't think Rainar really cares that much. Rainar's very good in those scrappy games. I actually think he's probably slightly better in the scrappy games than Clem is. So, yeah, creating a little bit of chaos. Now forcing those slow links to run across the map. It cannot be that bad right here for Rainar. He is forced to cancel this a bunch of times, and now Brenda is going to be blocking the expansion herself. Typical Brenda. Brenda, get out of the way! You're too thick! Oh my god, Brenda! Ay, ay, ay. In the meantime, the Zerglings are working away at whatever they can. Brenda, get out of the way! Karen decides to join in as well. Finally, the hatchery can be taken. Yeah, Clem becoming a bit of a bully. I mean, admittedly, Clem has been playing a lot against the likes of Hero lately. Hero does this against Terran players all the time. Maybe it's the way to do it. Rainar trying his best to be as annoying as he can be on the other side of the map, but not really achieving that much. Did he kill anything, you think? Nah. The lost minerals here are from the cancelled extractors. Okay, so Hellion Banshee opener here for Clem. Triple command center yet again. No surprise. Little Zergling run by though. These Zergling run bys have been so nice by Rainar throughout this series. It's how he first got known in the StarCraft world. Right, like he made a name for himself in like, I don't know, 2018 maybe or so? Like around those times he... No, maybe earlier than that. I don't remember exactly when, but... He always seemed to have links that were better than everybody else's links. And it's still working here. In 2026. 7 SCVs for 14 links is pretty darn good. But of course, keep in mind, like I said, triple command center, you get those 3 mules. The zerglings obviously are not free. And they are gonna run in yet again. I guess this is the downside of being Clem, because you are always moving out onto the map with your units. Clem's like, I got a medevac? Fill it with units, I don't care what it is. I've got Hellions, send them out onto the map. You do end up leaving your bases a little bit exposed. 10 seconds until Banshee cloaking. Transfusion on the drone is kind of sick. It's the second time now that I've caught it in this series. I remember the first time I saw a pro gamer do it. And I may have even, like, I think I titled the video after the fact that we saw a Zerg player transfusing a drone. I thought it was insane. But now it's become relatively normal. At least it's not really highlight worthy anymore. Rainar trying to keep those bad boys alive. And I guess if he has to exchange some energy on the queens, so be it. Now, the Banshees have been extremely good, though. Clem hasn't really been building them too much throughout these games, but every time he has built them, he seemed to have been getting very positive amounts of value out of them. Reynor doing a good job defending against the mineral line, at least, or the mineral line for now. But what about the aliens? The queens are chasing. Conservative movement here by Clem. Could have maybe dived. He could have maybe divot a little bit deeper into the mineral line to get even more kills. Banshee in the meantime. Ooh, there were 2 queens here previously. Hellion still moving around the site. No wall off this time around. Clem's Hellion movement is freaking dangerous, man. How many Hellions do you think he's made throughout these games? Probably about 150 or so. It's a lot. Good bit of value gained here by the Terran. And he's doing this whilst actually having a really solid economy too, despite losing some SCVs. Ruby Rock does have that faraway hatchery in the top right. At least here for Rainar, that's not an easy base to acquire. Okay, he decides to double expand. It almost feels like the one in the upper right is bait. Probably expecting that a Terran attack is going to be heading in that direction in a moment. In the meantime, though, we have a siege tank follow-up again here for Clem. Reynor decides to skip out on the banelings once more, opting to go Hydras and Zerglings. The creep spread has been pretty bad here for Reynor, but I think it's mostly due to the fact that the Hellion control has been really good. Reynor has been constantly trying to push it out onto the map, but the Hellions have been slowing things down, and it's now giving Clem a free line to the top right. I mean, there's no way Zerg is going to defend that. I wonder if you should have waited until the hatchery was done. Make Zerg pay the full price, but I guess this is fine. He has seen the alternative 4th as well, though, so he knows that one of those 2 was going to be a macro hatchery regardless. It's still, of course, positive gain right here for Clem, but I wouldn't have minded it if he decided to wait like an extra 10 seconds, wait until the hatchery is certainly done, and then push in, but he's a bit afraid, of course, of the creep making it that way. By the time that he does get to the corner. Have we seen any Ultralisks, by the way, this series? I'm not sure. We've seen a lot of games so far, but I don't recall seeing Ultras. Although the games are kind of blurring together a little bit now. No Banelings, though, in this game, and that is a theme for a while now. No Infestors either. The Lurker play has been pretty bad, honestly. Like, the Lurker play, like, he's not playing them poorly, but the Lurkers just haven't done anything. I'm not sure exactly what Reynor could do to play them any better. But Clem has been all over it. And Clem, once more, brings a bunch of Hellbats into the mix, using them as part of his core army. There are a lot of links thinking about getting the surround. It's just going to be Hydras and Queens really ready to defend. Is this Ling Runby going to achieve something? No, this time around Clem does have units in the choke point. 4th Command Center moves on over towards the 9 o'clock position. Hatchery is needing to be transfused back up. It does end up falling here, but now the Ling Runby is available. What about the... Okay, Widowmine not quite achieving that much. Clem is going to be pushed away eventually, but he got what he came for. A hatchery does end up falling. Base in the upper right needs to be remade. But now we're talking 4 base Terran versus like 3 and a little bit base Zerg. Double upgrades ahead of Terran. Or ahead for Terran, rather. We do have the +2 armor, I guess, a little bit quicker here for Rainar, but he's not going to be able to really make much use of it. It's going to be nice if the Terran keeps fighting, though, but it's not leading to, like, quick ultras or anything along those lines. Base in the upper right gets scanned yet again. Wouldn't be surprised if Rainar decides to retake it, but Clem has done an excellent job thus far getting rid of the creep. The creep seems to be that negative momentum, right, for the Terran? If you can keep that creep close to the hatcheries, life seems to be just on rails. Reynor, though, now waiting for the push up north. He knows that it's coming. He's trying to see if he can catch it off guard, and he does. Bunch of freebies, not too shabby. Clem expects that this hatchery indeed is going to be remade. Finds out right now that it hasn't been. I don't think he can be entirely unhappy with this fight because of it. Retargets right there with the Widowmine onto a Hydralisk. My concern right now for Rainar is that we are once more in the never-ending mid-game. He's got lair tech, he's got decent upgrades, the traits are going fine. But Clem is getting his equivalent of the Hive. And Zerg is kind of stuck. There's the +3 fired up. The requirement for Rainar to go 3-3 is to have a Hive done. The requirement for Terran is to have an armory done. And you need that in order to go for +2. So it's smooth sailing here for Clem, who will keep this, this ball rolling. Keep the creep pinned back. Make sure you're playing 4 base versus 4 base for as long as possible. We have the Ghost Academy coming up. Honestly, he doesn't need ghosts. This is one of the scenarios where any unit that starts with the letter M will do just fine. Still, he needs to be careful. Those Hydras are putting in quite a bit of work. Counterattack in the meantime, though. The Medevacs have arrived in the natural expansion. No safety banes or anything along those lines here, and no big clumps of Terran units that really need to be taken care of. Rainar's going to have to send in a bunch of his Hydras now. +2 missile is going to finish right here, luckily for Rainar. I think that this is all fine and dandy for now for Rainar, but when 3-3 kicks in, those Marines are going to be more powerful, and you'll be able to tell. This type of Terran composition just keeps on hitting harder and harder and harder, and Rainar is getting to the point where it's fizzling out. I mean, still, right? Like, he's fine. Clem is participating here in the late game. Maybe thinking, okay, this could be Ultras, could be Lurkers, could be Vipers, could be Infestors, but it's none of that. Planetary up here would be insane. He honestly doesn't need it. This feels overly greedy. Scans reveal right now what he's playing against, and he will be so happy to see the lair. Yeah, he sees the lair, immediately stops making the planetary up north, decides to fall back instead. I think you can chill right here. He's going to lose a command center because of it, but I think as a Terran here, you can chill until 3-3 is done, and it's now only maybe a half minute or so away. Still, no banelings, no infestors. I think we can just keep pushing. Some other happy detonations here. Clem starting to outgrow the Zerg player pretty fast now. Yeah, and I'm not sure really what, like, the win condition is for Rainar. GG, well played right here, gets cold. It is Clem who obtains the victory. He wins the reset match after losing the original best of 5. So he loses the best of 5 3-2, then wins the reset match 2-0. And I feel like one theme as well that we have to be pointing out here for Clem in particular is that he never really seems to slow down. Like, these are long games to play. And again, this is at the end of a tournament day. This entire tournament was played in just one single afternoon and evening. Like, that's it. So you've already been playing for however long the event runs. Then you have to play this very long series here too. Clem is consistently an absolute beast. And even though he was denying the creep here quite nicely in the final game, I do think Rainar was maybe slowing down just ever so slightly. We'd have to check the APM and compare it to the first games, but Rainar really started this finals off incredibly well. Like, the first 8 minutes or so of that first game were pretty much flawless. I couldn't really find any mistakes. Then there was massive Zerg run-by as well, and he killed so many SCVs with it. But across the board, Clem just looks pretty much unstoppable.